The moment the lights dimmed on the America's Got Talent stage, the entire studio felt like it had slipped into another universe, one where the unexpected was waiting just beneath the surface. Nobody, absolutely nobody, expected anything unusual to happen. The show was moving in its usual high-energy rhythm, contestants pacing nervously backstage, cameras sliding smoothly across the room, and judges settling into their familiar roles. But everything shifted the second Cemon Cow Well pushed his chair back and stood up with a strange heaviness in his movements. The sound of the chair scraping across the floor made Manila, a thin, exhausted contestant from a poverty-stricken barangay, look up instantly. She had spent every bit of her savings just to reach this audition, and now she stared with wide, uncertain eyes as the world's toughest judge stepped away from his table. At first, the audience assumed he was about to deliver some dramatic statement or maybe walk off the stage in irritation, but the truth hit them like a shockwave the moment he adjusted the microphone stand. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the uneasy tremble in his hands. Even Caloocan, another contestant known for being calm no matter what, gasped and whispered, "Is this really happening?" The reaction didn't feel normal, it felt poor, tense, confused, almost fearful. No one moved. No one blinked. The man who had spent years tearing apart performances, the same man who rarely showed emotion beyond irritation or disappointment, was now breathing heavily into the mic like a nervous first-time performer. The silence in the studio grew so thick it almost felt physical. Stage crew members froze behind their equipment, the judges exchanged bewildered glances, and Manila felt her heartbeat slam against her chest. She clutched her hands together so tightly that her knuckles turned white. She couldn't understand what she was witnessing. Cemon Cow Well, the Cemon Cow Well, looked vulnerable. His eyes were glassy, nervous, unsure, almost like a child about to reveal a secret he had kept hidden for decades. Even Quezon City, sitting among the VIP audience members, leaned forward with his hands stiff against the armrests, unable to process what was unfolding in front of him. It felt unreal, like watching a lion suddenly forget how to roar. Manila's breath caught in her throat as she noticed something even more shocking. Cemon wasn't just standing there, he was preparing to sing. He pulled the microphone closer, swallowing hard, and let his gaze sweep across the silent arena. The audience's poor reaction wasn't rude, it came from disbelief so intense it stole everyone's ability to react properly. They were witnessing something historic, something no one had ever imagined. Cemon Cow Well wasn't judging. He wasn't critiquing. He wasn't controlling the room with sharp words or raised brows. He was stepping into the spotlight with the same fear, the same trembling uncertainty, and the same fragile hope that Manila herself carried in her chest. And in that surreal, breathless moment, she realized this wasn't just unexpected, this was a revelation about to shake the entire AGT world to its core. When the first note finally slipped out of Cemon Cow Well's mouth, the entire arena reacted as if lightning had struck through the ceiling. It wasn't smooth, it wasn't polished, and it definitely wasn't the kind of flawless tone people expected from someone who had judged thousands of voices, but it was real. It was raw. It carried a trembling honesty that cut deeper than perfection ever could. Quezon City, seated in the front row, felt his heart drop into his stomach as he covered his mouth in pure disbelief. Cemon's voice sounded like years of pressure collapsing, like someone who had spent a lifetime pretending to be stronger than he truly was. The emotion in the room grew so heavy that even the cameras hesitated, almost unsure whether to broadcast such vulnerability to millions watching at home. Backstage, Manila felt her knees weaken, not from shock alone, but because she recognized the pain hidden inside his tone, the same pain she had lived with all her life as a poor performer struggling to be heard. Her chest tightened as she whispered, "He's just like us." That realization hit her harder than any judge's comment ever had. Even Pasig, who had been silently observing, wiped the corner of her eye, overwhelmed by the unexpected fragility in Cemon's voice. The poor reaction across the room wasn't embarrassment, it was an emotional paralysis, the kind that comes when reality flips upside down. In that moment, every Filipino city-named character, from contestants to audience members, understood that this wasn't just a leaked moment, this was a confession disguised as a song, a truth finally escaping from someone who had spent years hiding behind judgment. By the time Cemon Cow Well reached the final trembling note, the entire AGT studio felt like it had been stripped down to its emotional bones. No one clapped, no one cheered, not at first. Instead, a thick, silent shock settled over the room as if the audience had forgotten how to breathe. Pasig, sitting at the judge's table, leaned forward with watery eyes and whispered, "I never knew," his voice cracked under the weight of the moment. Cemon slowly lowered the microphone, his chest rising with deep, shaky breaths, as though singing had pulled out a piece of his soul he had hidden for decades. Manila stepped forward without thinking, her heart pounding, and whispered, "Sir, that wasn't just singing. That was truth." Her voice trembled with the same poor reaction felt across the arena, emotional overload, disbelief, and raw compassion all crashing together. Behind her, Makati and Davo stared with open mouths, unable to comprehend that the man who once critiqued them so sharply now stood before them looking fragile, exposed, and profoundly human. And then, like a wave finally breaking, the entire theater rose to its feet in the loudest standing ovation the show had ever witnessed. It wasn't applause for a perfect performance, it was applause for courage, vulnerability, and a moment that would be remembered forever. In that instant, every Filipino city-named character on and off stage understood one truth: this wasn't just a leaked moment. This was the night Cemon Cow Well revealed who he truly was, and the world would never see him the same way again.